Hey everyone, in this video I'm going to be breaking down Ice Cream Man Volumes 3 and 4, which spans issues 9 through 16 of this series. Now, this is a very weird, creepy, bizarre book. I don't think it's for everybody. There's some people that will not be into this, but for those of you who are into it, I'm glad you're here, so we can go through this together. Sometimes, even myself, I don't love certain issues of Ice Cream Man because they're just so weird and unsettling and random. But either way, I think it's really interesting to go through to see where the story is going and the ways they are telling the story to us, as it is so unique and different. So I thought it would be worth going through more of this series. So I hope you all enjoy this. We are going to see Rick the Ice Cream Man and Caleb the Man in Black and their eternal struggle. We're going to learn more of their lore. We're going to see them in these like alternate universes or something. And we're also going to have a whole bunch of creepy one-off stories as well, following individual people. So let's dive into it now. Let's dive into the weirdness of Ice Cream Man Volumes 3 and 4. Ice Cream Man Volume 3, Hopscotch Melange. Written by W. Maxwell Prince, art by Martin Morazzo, and colors by Chris O'Halloran. Issue 9, Part 1, Western Story. Caleb, the Man in Black, is in the desert in what looks like the American Southwest. Only it's not the West. Caleb is riding a horse and has a pet dog with him, and they are hunting a gigantic spider, like monster-sized spider, something that should not exist in the real world. Caleb himself doesn't look fully human. His eyes are fully black and he has pointy ears. In past issues of Ice Cream Man, Caleb did look human, so that leaves me to believe that this is another universe or something. Caleb, he uses his lasso and ropes up a giant spider, and then he orders his dog to bite into the spider, and the dog does so. It takes a big old bite out of the spider and appears to kill it. Caleb, he then removes an eye out of the spider and feeds it to his dog. Caleb, he travels on and goes to his uncle's house. Caleb refers to his uncle as Old Man. Caleb's uncle, Old Man, hugs him, and the two of them head inside the home. The uncle says to Caleb that Caleb's cousin will be here soon. Caleb talks to his uncle about Rick, the Ice Cream Man. He says to his uncle that our magic is sacred. It's made of fragile life stuff, but Ricardus, he just goes off and conjures these aberrations. The old man tells Caleb that everything is one thing. Each bastard of creation is a reflection of something true. Caleb's cousin then arrives. It is in fact Rick, the Ice Cream Man. So Caleb and Rick are related. Caleb and Rick and their uncle all have pointy ears in this world with weird black eyes. Rick, he comments, Caleb, Uncle, sorry I'm late. Guess I lost track of time. The old man invites Rick in. He tells his nephews that they have business to discuss. The old man pulls out a big old book, and the old man says that this universe is on its last leg. The plants take root and speak to the dirt. The dirt in turn speaks back, and it's saying, get out, quick. Rick asks why. He likes it here. My buggies feed on the bird things. The old man tells Rick, what you like ain't important, kid. Time's up, and the two of you gotta go. In this here book is the rules for the next place, and the rules got but one rule, you follow 'em. Do I make myself plain? Caleb asks his uncle if he's coming too to the next world. The uncle says, I'm gonna be delayed. Your mother's asked me to look after y'all, so that's what I intend to do. Now get, before I turn grumpier than I am already. As Caleb and Rick go to leave, the uncle asks to have a word with Rick alone. So Caleb, he goes on and he plays fetch with his dog and he starts a campfire and he goes to sleep for the night. And while he was sleeping, Rick apparently played some music to attract the dog over to him. And when Caleb woke up in the morning, he went to go look for his dog. And Caleb, he's calling out for his dog, but then we see that Rick has killed the dog and is wearing the dog like a coat. Rick says, "It was getting cold, but now I'm all toasty and warm." Caleb asks, "What did you do to my goddamn dog?" And Rick answers, "I did what the geezer told me. He showed me the book, Caleb, the rules. And the rules say, kick up dust. Be the bug crawling beneath the surface. All worlds are covered in bugs. Some are just bigger than others. You'll see, like old man did." Caleb, he rushes off on his horse back to his uncle's house. When Caleb arrives, a giant spider appears to have stabbed one of its arms through the old man. Caleb lassos the spider's arm and shoots a bow and arrow in the face of the spider and eventually kills it. Caleb, he then talks to his dying uncle, and his uncle, with his dying breath, tells Caleb, "On to the next one, Caleb. Everything is one thing." A narration box then reads, "Everything is one thing. The plants take root and speak to the dirt. The dirt in turn speaks back, and it's saying, go. And so we do, meeting someday at the place where all paths come to a single point." Caleb, then talking to himself after burying his uncle, says, "See ya in the next one, Rick." Alright, so how do we interpret this issue? I don't know. I don't know what it means, but this is probably one of the most lore-heavy issues of Ice Cream Man we've had, although it doesn't really fully make sense. It does appear that Caleb and Rick are locked into some sort of eternal struggle that spans time and universes, and in this particular issue they seem to be in another universe which they now seem to be abandoning for the next one. For the rest of this volume, it seems like we are going to be jumping to different times and places, and in some cases different universes as well. Issue 10, Hopscotch Melange, Part 2, Border Story. The first 7 pages in this issue are entirely in Spanish, and a note in the beginning reads, "Need help with the Spanish? Google Translate works like a charm," which is honestly kind of annoying as someone that does not know Spanish. You don't really know what is being said unless you want to manually translate it, so you kind of have to infer what is being said based on the images and drawings. Luckily though, in the trade paperback, they actually published the translation so you could reference it in the bonus material. So this issue takes place in Mexico in 1919. A girl named Maria is having a quinceañera, which is a celebration when a young woman is turning 15. Maria seems to be promised to this evil general who appears to be like a Mexican version of Rick the Ice Cream Man. And the general seems to have bad intentions toward her, and he is supposed to marry her. He calls her a trophy in a way, and tells her to enjoy these last days, little one. These celebrations will be scarce when we are married. That's what you want to hear when you're getting married. Later that day, Maria's lover, a cowboy named John, secretly comes to meet her. John gives Maria a rose. Maria is sad because the general treats her like a toy. John tells her, "Hey, don't you worry about him. Tomorrow night, I'll be back to take you away from here," he promises. The both of them say that they love each other. Maria, she then has her big quinceañera birthday party, and she looks at the general across the table from her, and she dreads what her possible future might be like with him. In El Paso, Texas, John is gathering supplies, and he is grabbing his gun. He is getting ready to face off against the general and steal away Maria to America so they can be together. Caleb, the man in black, he seems to be there. He seems to know John. Caleb tries to talk some sense into John. He asks him, "So you're gonna whisk her away to the United States so she can live the impoverished life of a cowboy's maiden?" John argues back, "Hey, it's better than a life with the general." Caleb tells John, "Says you. There's rules to this world, kid. Lines in place. Certain ones you cross, you never come back." John, angry, tells Caleb, And what do you know? You're just a rusted up cowboy with no one to talk to but me. Caleb, he then sneaks off to Mexico to Maria. He is outside her bedroom at night. He calls out to her and tells her to come down and that they don't have much time. As John waits for Maria, the general walks out with her and he has a knife to her throat. The general says to John, "Hello, cowboy. It's a pleasure to finally meet you. How long I've waited to see with my own eyes Maria's American paramour." John calls out to the general to let her go. The general replies, "Ah yes, empty-canned bravado. You puff your chest and pretend you are not but a lost child. How trite." John, he threatens to shoot the general, and the general says, "I am an idea. You cannot kill an idea with a bullet." John replies, "Let's see about that," and he shoots the general in the shoulder, and Maria, she then kicks the general in the head. The general, though, he gets up and he slaps Maria, and then he tells John, "You will die in this country, little boy, far from home, alone at my feet, like so many before you, and so many after." The general now resembles Rick in his demonic form with sharp teeth that we've seen before. The general stabs John in his lower back, and John goes down, and he starts slowly dying from the blood loss. The general tells Maria, "Be with him, if you please," and then he walks away. Over in America, in El Paso, Texas, Caleb, the man in black, he is still there, and eventually, even though John has died, Maria shows up at Caleb's door where John would have eventually taken her. Maria tells Caleb, "I'm sorry, I had nowhere else to go." That is the end of this issue, and we assume that Caleb took Maria in, and he continued his battle and struggles against Rick. Issue 11, Hopscotch Melange, Part 3, TV Story. This issue is about a man trapped in random, messed up reality TV shows. It is a reality TV show nightmare fever dream. So we see this guy, Will Parsons. He is the innocent civilian in this story. He is in a TV show called Mannequin House, which is a parody of The Bachelor. And Rick, the ice cream man, is the host, and all of the other contestants are mannequins. Rick tells Will and the other mannequins, "Gentlemen, this is Tiffany's final rose of the night. If you don't receive one, I'm sorry, but you'll have to be taken away for improvement." Will, listening to this, asks, "What does improvement mean?" The mannequin, Tiffany, chooses someone else, not Will. And Will, since he is rejected, is dragged away for improvement. In the confessional, Tiffany says why she didn't pick Will. She says, "Listen, I'm not a shallow person. I have depth and stuff, but I'm here to find love, and Will, I got the feeling like he didn't want to be here. He'd say things like, 'Please, I don't want to be here.' And it's like, stop sending mixed messages, guy. Say what you mean." Anyway, I couldn't get past his face. All of those features. Will is being dragged away by some mannequins to the room for improvement, but he manages to escape their grasp and he runs through an exit door. And all of a sudden, when he exits that exit door, he is on another TV show, and this one is called Family Autopsy. A dead man is on a slab on the set of this game show, and the host announces, "Mr. Will Parson, let's prep him for surgery, boys. You know the rules." Some dogs dressed as surgeons dress Will in a surgical gown. The host then tells Will, "You've got 30 minutes to figure out what killed your surprise family member, your favorite Uncle Bob." Will, he's confused. He says, "Uncle Bob's dead? When did this happen?" Will is then forced to try and dissect his uncle and figure out the cause of his uncle's death. In a confessional, Will says to the camera, "I should have called my uncle more. I just get so busy. I could have texted him. A text. It's such a simple thing. And I'm on my phone all the time." And then Uncle Bob, who was supposed to be dead, is somehow alive now and talking in the confessional. Bob says, "Wait, I'm dead? Was it the cigarettes that did it?" And then Bob somehow sees his nephew and says, "Willie, is that you?" Will, he says that he can't figure out what killed his uncle, and he refuses to cut into his uncle's dead body. And the audience, of apparently skeletons and mannequins, are all booing Will, and they are yelling, "Autopsy him, you weenie!" Will, he then storms off saying, "I'm sorry." And now Will is on a new game show, and this one is called Chopped. And the host tells the contestants, create something resembling a person from the person parts in your mystery baskets. The contestants on this show are a mannequin, Will, a dog, and a zombie. The host tells the contestants the mystery parts that they have are a foot, another foot, Uncle Bob's teeth, and a farmer's market kale. So I guess they have to assemble a body from these parts. Will, he refuses to do this. He says to everyone, "I'm not doing it, you hear me? I'm done. I'm walking right out of this nightmare and no one is going to stop me." Will, he walks out and he walks right into another show called America's Got Intestines, which is a parody of America's Got Talent, except it's about your exposed intestines. The judges are 3 different versions of Rick the Ice Cream Man we've seen over various issues of this book. One of the Ricks says, "I've been doing this for a long time, and I gotta say, those are some of the worst intestines I've ever seen." Will, he looks down at his body, and his intestines are spilling out all over the place. Will, he's so confused. And the various Ricks slam their buzzers, and a trapdoor opens, and Will falls through it. Where is Will now? Will is now in a basement, where it looks like he is with Joel from way back in issue 4. Will asks, where the hell is he? Joel explains the various names for this place. He says, "You're in the sweet place, the room for improvement, the ice cream shop." But what it's called isn't important. What matters is what it is. It's a food pantry. They ate my arm, and they called it brunch. So I guess they are being stored in a food pantry to be eaten later by other people. Will asks, "Who is they?" And Joel answers, "The upstairs people." And who are the upstairs people? Well, they are members of another reality TV show called Wealthy Family of Zombies. And they are the ones that ate Joel's arm. And this Wealthy Family of Zombies is clearly some sort of disturbed Keeping Up with the Kardashians parody. One of the Kardashians says, "I'm starving." And another one replies, "Oh my god, me too." And then they start bickering back and forth. "You're always hungry, Carrie. Wait, are you calling me fat? Oh my god, you're such an effing drama queen. Wait, are you calling me a drama queen?" And then we see their zombie confessionals, and the one zombie Kardashian says, "All I said was that she's always hungry." And another one replies, "People judge me, but what gives them the right? I'm always hungry too. I'm a zombie just like everyone else. We're all zombies, right? You sit and you laugh and you call us names, but guess what? You're still watching 19 seasons and you can't look away." The zombie Kardashians eventually call out to one of their mannequins that's apparently their chef, and they ask him to bring them some more food. So the mannequin chef goes downstairs to the sweet place, and he drags away Will for brunch. Will is screaming, "But I don't want to be brunch!" And Joel tells Will, "No one ever does, Will. No one ever does." And Will, he is strapped to a table, and the zombie Kardashians all chow down on him. We now leave the zombie Kardashian Wealthy Family of Zombie show, and we head over to somewhere else. We see Rick the Ice Cream Man is at Will's home with the rest of Will's actual family sitting around for dinner. Rick, he is holding a camera, and he tells the rest of the family, "Great, really great, guys. Let's take 5 and then shoot again from the other side so that Jerry's got plenty to work with in the editing booth." One of the girls asks, "Hey, where's Will and Uncle Bob?" And the final page says, "Find out next week on Missing Parsons." And we see a picture of Will's family with him and his uncle Bob missing. So yet again, another reality TV show, except this one is a missing person true crime one. And then the TVs all turn off and they're ecstatic, and we end the issue. Issue 12, Hopscotch Melange, Part 4, Space Story. An astronaut named Captain Noah Smith has been traveling for nearly 3 years aboard the archival Recivilization capsule. He seems to be searching for a new inhabitable world to revive the human population on. On the spaceship, there is a mega hard drive that contains 2 images of every living thing that ever was. It will be used to help terraform whatever this new world is that he eventually might find. As Noah is working away, an alarm goes off, and Noah, he rushes to the piloting area, and he sees various space spiders destroying meteors in this meteor field. So Noah, he begins piloting the spaceship manually, trying to navigate around the spiders and the meteors. He successfully outmaneuvers the asteroid field, and then he puts the spaceship into autopilot as he then heads over to another part of the ship. Noah heads over to a place called the Memory Corridor. Noah narrates to us why the Earth died as he is in this corridor. The Earth died because of many things. Thing number 1 was global warming. Thing 452 was the split atom. Thing 679 was disease. There's also technological singularity. There's also bad television. Many reasons why the Earth didn't make it. Noah then looks at the memories of his family, his wife and kids. He misses them. They are all dead now. An alarm goes off. One of these space spiders apparently made its way into the engine room of the ship. Noah heads over there, and the space spider is trying to damage things. Noah shoots at it, and the spider closes in on him. It is going to bite into Noah, but Noah blasts the spider point blank in its mouth, and then the spider flies off. Now the spider is gone, but it created a hole in the ship, and the ship needs to make an emergency crash landing on a nearby moon. The spaceship, it successfully lands, and Noah, he is looking at readings on his computer aboard the spaceship. The computer appears to detect a life form on the moon. Noah says out loud, "My God, there's a human here." Noah assumes that it must be a human from a previous Recivilization pod. Noah, he gets dressed in a spacesuit, and he heads out onto this moon to explore. Noah, he is walking around and he finds some vegetation and flowers. And eventually, Noah is standing above a small chasm. The signal is getting stronger. The potential life form is apparently close. Noah, he trips and he falls, and he is tumbling to the bottom of this chasm. At the bottom of the chasm, he sees a picture of his family. How did this get here? Noah, he then sees Caleb, the man in black, in a black space outfit, floating towards Noah. Noah, thinking Caleb a threat, scrambles. He grabs a gun and he points it at Caleb, but then Caleb disappears. Noah, he walks on. We see the picture of his family now has all the family as skeletons except for Noah. Noah Smith, he continues walking in this chasm, trying to find the source of the signal. He then finds a small cave, and in the cave there are etchings on the wall. Inside the cave is Rick, the ice cream man. Rick is sitting on a chair, wearing barely any clothes, and the clothes he is wearing are all tattered. And Rick has alien eyes and pointy ears like he did back in issue 9. Rick tells Noah, "Welcome, Captain Smith. You made it to the end of the road." Noah asks how Rick knew his name, and Rick replies, "Honestly, I guessed. It was bound to be Smith or Bowman or Cooper or Ripley, some meaningless string of consonants meant to give identity to space meat." Noah asks if Rick is the signal that he's been following. Rick, he points to 3 dead astronauts hanging on a wall. Rick says it must be one of them. The flesh fades, but their little gizmos whir on, beeping endlessly into the void, like tiny music from a truck. An old man once told me the truth about the universe. Do you want to hear it? The truth, Captain Smith, is that there is none. It's all a farce, a song with no key. You think pictures will bring your squirmy little species back to life? That's absurd. Your world is dead forever, Captain. But don't despair. These things happen sometimes. Noah says that Rick is wrong, and that Rick is just a monster here, floating on a space rock. Noah points a gun on Rick. Rick tells Noah, "Do you know how many people have pointed a gun at me? Need I explain again the folly in trying to kill an idea? I'm a bad thought, Noah. I'm the voice in your head." Noah shoots at Rick. Rick is still fine, though. Rick says that he is going to take Noah's ship. Noah asks, "But why me? These men all had ships." Rick answers, "I don't need a ship. I need a map." So there must be something on Noah's ship that would work as a map for Rick to get to wherever he wants to get to. Noah, he starts running. He is trying to get back to his spaceship before Rick does. When he arrives, though, Rick is already waiting there, now looking human, and also dressed in his classic ice cream man outfit. Rick talks to the AI on board the spaceship and orders it to remove Noah's brain, and the AI, kind of like Hal in 2001: Space Odyssey, complies and kills Noah. Rick is now talking to himself, and he says, "I bet we'll find a new universe in no time. Fast as fast can be. Lickety-split." Rick, he then takes off in Noah's spaceship. And we see Caleb is standing down there on the moon's surface, staring at Rick flying away. And Caleb says to himself, "On to the next one, Rick." So it appears that Rick and Caleb's eternal struggle is crossing universes, and they are on their way to another one. That is the end of Volume 3, but let's move along to Volume 4 now, Tiny Lives. Issue 13, Palindromes. A palindrome is a word or phrase or sequence that reads the same backward as well as forward. So this comic is designed in such a way that it can be read both backward and forward. An author's note reads, "If you choose to enjoy the story backwards, read the panels from bottom to top and right to left." Alright, let's begin the story. Paul used to have a partner named Michael, who died of cancer 3 weeks ago. Paul goes outside. An ice cream truck is outside his house. And a sewer is open, and a sewer grate reads Underworld on it. Paul decides to go into the sewer, go into the underworld, and try and take up his partner's death with the supposed king of the underworld, and maybe get some answers. As Paul climbs down the initial ladder, he sees a little girl with no eyes and an owl on her shoulder. The little girl says, "Damn it, I'm mad. Mr. Owl ate my metal worm. Stupid thing won't even hoot." And then the owl hoots, and then the little girl laughs maniacally. I have no idea what this means. Paul, he keeps climbing lower into the sewer. He goes down another ladder. He sees a homeless man named Dennis. Dennis tells Paul, "Dennis, show you the way out, and then in." Dennis sinned. Dennis stuck in the below place. "Come, we go." Dennis is leading Paul through the sewer, and eventually Dennis shows Paul his friends. His friends are 2 cats that seem to be connected together, a dog in a straitjacket, a bird with a skeleton body, and some ice cream drippers. Paul, he continues deeper into the sewer, following Dennis. And then Paul goes on after Dennis, continuing further. He goes through a circular door with teeth bordering on it. And then he passes by a pit with monster arms and tongues and stuff shooting out of it. Then there is a red balloon. Paul holds on to the red balloon, and he floats downward. And then when he reaches the bottom, he sees a metal door, and on the metal door it says "coming or going" on it. Paul walks through that door, and then he is in some kind of throne room, and the throne is covered in blood, but it is empty. No one is home. Paul decides, well, the king of the underworld isn't here, he might as well leave. And Paul, he begins his journey back home. He goes back outside that door, he grabs the red balloon, and it floats him back up. He walks past the monster pit with the arms and tongues and stuff. Then he goes through the door with the teeth bordering on it. And then he reaches Dennis again, and he climbs up and Dennis follows him. Dennis and Paul walk by Dennis's weird friends again, the ice cream drippers, the bird skeleton, the dog in the straitjacket, and the connected cats. Paul then leaves Dennis and continues climbing up. He passes by the weird girl with no eyes and the owl on her shoulder. Paul, he then climbs out of the sewer and he goes back into his home, and he looks at the picture of his partner, Michael, again. And that is the end of the issue. So this was kind of a weird issue. I did not love the story in it, but I guess it is kind of cool to read the story both ways and kind of have them mirror each other. So it's a very unique gimmick, although not really a great story. Issue 14, Down and Across. There is a husband and a wife. The husband is named Earl Greengrove, and he loves doing crosswords. And his wife is named Rita Greengrove. The crossword questions that the man is doing, the answers seem to relate to Earl's life. Question 1A, 6 letters. The thing you feel most often. Answer for Earl, regret. Question 4D, 4 letters. Your wife, who lately seems to have developed a preoccupation with the recreational activities of the contractors she hired. Her name? Answer, Rita. We see some young men are doing some work in Earl and Rita's backyard. They are building them a guest house. Rita, the wife, is convinced that the workers are smoking marijuana cigarettes. She calls them deadbeats, and she tells her husband that this is going on. Earl tells Rita, "Who cares, Rita?" Rita replies, "I care. I'm paying those bozos to build the guest house." Earl tells his wife, "We don't need a guest house. We never have any guests." Rita argues back to her husband, "Well, we would if you took your nose out of those godforsaken puzzles and finally made a couple of friends." Rita then turns her attention back to the workers and she says, "Look at them. One of them's shirtless. What is this, Italy?" Crossword question 7A, 7 letters. The thing you're best at. The thing your father and his father before him were best at. Answer, leaving, or maybe bolting, bailing, or running. Earl, he goes for a walk to a nearby variety store. Rick, the ice cream man, seems to be working there today. Earl asks, "Where's Mac, the normal guy that works here?" And Rick says that he's filling in today. Back at the house, Earl's wife, Rita, confronts the young people working on their guest house. Rita tells the one worker, "You should put your shirt back on. There's kids in this neighborhood." The shirtless worker is confused. Rita explains, "Your shirt. This isn't a beach, you know." The guy says, he's sorry. He's just hot is all." As Rita turns around to head back inside the house, she thinks she hears one of the workers saying, "You miserable fucking bitch. We ought to eat your fucking face off." When Rita turns around, she asks, "What did you say?" And the worker replies, "I just said my bad, Miss G. The shirt won't happen again." So, did Rita imagine the worker saying that, or is Rick the ice cream man influencing her and making her hear things? Hard to say. Earl, he is sitting at a park, continuing to do a crossword, silently to himself. Earl, he starts hearing a voice in his head. "Hello, Earl. Work the words to your fingertips. Figure out the letters. Solve the puzzle, Earl." Earl asks, "Who's there? Whose voice is that?" The crossword, question 18A, 9 letters. The way your child was brought into this world about 30 years ago now. What was her name, Earl? Answer was Agatha. The voice continues, "Conquer the white space. Fill out the grid." Back at the house, Rita imagines that the workers are now preparing to kill her. The still shirtless worker says, "We're coming for you, Granny." Rita, she gets scared. She tries to phone the police, but the voice on the phone says to her, "You were wrong, Miss G. It wasn't weed we were smoking, it was meth and black tar heroin. The three of us are so messed up. I'm gonna take my shirt off and come make a meal of you. Hope that's cool with you, Miss G." Rita hangs up the phone and she locks the door. She wonders where her husband, Earl, is. Earl, he is still being tormented by the voice in his head, and he is still continuing to do the crossword puzzle. Question 33D. 5 letters. How you feel all of the time, even in a crowd of people. How you'll likely die when all is said and done. Answer: alone. Question 41A. 3 letters. Your colleague, your best friend, the man that Rita sleeps with when you're away on business. You've always known but never said anything. Answer: Ted. Earl, he starts losing it. He starts imagining himself falling through the crossword puzzle. Back at the house, the young workers have apparently broken in and are coming after Rita. Rita has barricaded herself in the bedroom and grabs Earl's handgun. Back to the crossword. Question 48D. 12 letters. What you should do. The only way out of your tiny little life. Answer: kill yourself. The ice cream man's influence seems to be trying to influence Earl and Rita to go crazy and do harm to themselves. Earl decides that he will not kill himself, though. He yells at the voice, "That ain't the way, you hear me? Rita needs me, and I need her." 4 letters. Where I belong, where me and Rita kiss every Christmas under the living room mistletoe. There's no place like it. Answer: home. Earl, he returns home, and he walks into his bedroom door, and Rita shoots the gun, thinking it is the young workers. Luckily, she missed Earl, and both of them are alive and okay. The two of them embrace. They say that they are sorry. Earl tells his wife that he's been getting it all wrong. He says no more distractions, no more wasting time with puzzles and papers and all that crap. You're my wife, for Christ's sake. The two, they hug, and Earl, he sends the workers building the guest house home. He tells them that they are going to be canceling the building of the guest house, and that he is sorry to take work away from you boys. Him and his wife, they might even go on a little vacation. The worker replies, "Don't sweat it, Mr. G. Traveling is lit." Lit? Earl thinks about that word, lit. A narration box reads, "That's another insidious thing about words, right? You finally start to feel like you got the right ones, and then suddenly you don't. The board clears, the grid is empty, the puzzle begins anew. Good luck trying to figure it all out." And then we see the young workers drive away. And that is the end of the issue. Issue 15, Coat Check Story. There is a girl named Lillian. She is in some sort of insane asylum. She seems to be very zonked out and out of it. She keeps talking about how she took someone else's coat and how it all went sideways. We have a flashback now. We see Lillian at a restaurant. She was on a date with a guy, and she was treating him kind of bad, saying his conversation was banal and boring, and he is making her labia dry. The guy comments, "Christ, what is wrong with you? You're a real pill, you know that?" Lillian, she leaves and she says, "I'm well aware. Thanks for the dinner, pal." As Lillian goes to grab her coat from the coat check, Rick, the ice cream man, appears to be working there. He gives her a nice green coat. Lillian comments, "This isn't my jacket," but Rick tells her it's the only jacket back here, and Lillian decides why not keep it anyway. It's a pretty sweet coat after all. Lillian is then walking outside in this new green coat, and she sees a creepy kid with a balloon. Balloon Boy tells her that there's a finger in her pocket. Lillian tells the kid that he's mistaken, but then she reaches into her coat pocket and she finds a severed finger, which is indeed weird. She asks the kid, how did he know? But Balloon Boy has already disappeared. Lillian then goes to her girlfriend Vera's house, and the two of them get it on. But during their lovemaking, Lillian gets all weirded out when Vera appears to be wearing a mask, and then she bites her, and then Balloon Boy appears in the bedroom and tells Lillian, "You shouldn't wear someone else's jacket, Lillian." Lillian, she wakes up. Apparently she was just dreaming. She says bye to her girlfriend, Vera. Lillian, she then goes over to her mother's home. Lillian's mother is very sick and mentally ill and requires a lot of care. Lillian gives her mom a sponge bath. Her mom is kind of out of it. After the sponge bath, Lillian looks at her mom's mail. Her mom seems to be falling behind on various bills. Lillian's mom tells her, "The boy with the balloon said he'd take care of everything." Lillian is freaked out and she asks, "Boy with the balloon?" The mom continues, "Oh, sweet little scamp. I gave him $3.26 to help deal with the dead bird problem." Lillian asks, "You don't have a dead bird problem, Ma. What boy? Did the nurses let him in?" Her mom answers, "We played games. He said to count my fingers from 1 to 10, but I only ever got to 9. Isn't that funny?" Later on, Lillian is talking to her therapist about all this weird shit she's been seeing lately, and how it all started when she took some other person's coat. Lillian says there was a finger in the pocket, and this balloon boy, he keeps popping up wherever I go, and then my mom... Lillian's therapist tells her, "Look, if the big bad coat is the root of all your current problems, then why not just get rid of it?" So Lillian decides to do that. She returns to the restaurant and attempts to give the coat back to the coat check person there, who's a woman now and not Rick. She tells the coat check girl, "It's not my coat, I want you to take it." The coat check woman asks, "Why do you have a jacket that isn't yours?" And Lillian yells back, "Because you assholes gave it to me!" Lillian, she then leaves the restaurant without her jacket. She is walking down the street. It's pretty cold out though. Lillian, she sees a dead bird on the sidewalk, and Balloon Boy is there again, and he says, "I can help with the dead bird problem. Hey, aren't you cold?" Lillian, she's freaked out now. She tells Balloon Boy, "God damn it, kid, leave me alone. You're not real." Lillian, she starts running. She runs down the subway stairs, and then she starts muttering to herself, "You're not crazy, Lillian. You're not your mom." Lillian, she sees tons of versions of herself wearing the green coat, and they welcome her, and they give her a coat, and they tell her a flower needs its pretty petals, a queen must be dressed to match her glory. They give her a box and say, "Your scepter, my queen." Lillian opens the box, and inside is a severed finger. Then she stares at her own fingers, and she appears to be missing one, and she screams, "No!" Balloon Boy, he appears once again and says, "I guess it was your coat after all." It's so hard to keep stuff straight. Balloon Boy tells Lillian to come sit. He points her to a wheelchair and tells her, "Your throne awaits. Sit and be the queen of lilies." After that, we don't know exactly what happened, but Lillian wound up in a mental institution that we saw her in at the beginning of the issue. At the institution, we see Lillian's psychiatrist checked in on her, and then she eventually leaves. The psychiatrist returns to her car, and she comments to herself, "Poor little Lily." In the back seat of the psychiatrist's car, we see Balloon Boy, Rick the ice cream man, and Lillian's mom. They are all back there. And Rick, he says, "You know what they say, thistles must be cut down before they flower." And the psychiatrist, she then drives away. So once again, we see another story of Rick making someone descend into madness. Issue 16, Tiny Lives. This issue is also the name of the overall trade paperback for Volume 4, so it is in many ways the strongest story of the four. In the suburbs, we see a father named Mitch. Mitch is a single father raising a teenage daughter named Jen. As Mitch is cleaning his daughter's bedroom, he comes across a bra. His daughter is growing up, becoming a woman. Mitch then comes across his daughter's diary. It reads, Jen's journal, private. Private in big letters. Mitch knows that he shouldn't read his daughter's diary. He should respect her privacy, but he eventually decides to read it anyway. And in the diary, Jen, she writes about getting her period and also having to read Pride and Prejudice in school, and she's not really into the book. But then she talks about a boy she likes, and she says, I've been thinking about it a lot, and I want my first time to be with Derek. There's just something about his face that makes me want to jump on him and do it. So I picked up you-know-whats from the store. I want to be ready when the time comes, fingers crossed. Mood board, crabby, excited, nervous. Mitch, he is concerned. His 17-year-old daughter, Jen, appears to be already having sex at her young age. Mitch, he goes downstairs and he talks with his daughter, Jen. He asks her, should we be having the birds and bees type talk? I mean, you're 17 now. And Jen replies, you're joking, right, Dad? And Mitch replies, I just want to make sure I'm doing all the things I'm supposed to do. I'm checking all the boxes. Jen tells her dad that he's sweet and he's doing a great job as a single parent, but he doesn't have to worry about her. Later on, Mitch goes to some sort of support group for single fathers that he is a part of. Mitch, he talks to the group about reading his daughter's diary. The group seems to look down upon this action, saying it wasn't a good move. Mitch says that he knows, but she's starting to, be with boys. How do I warn her that sex complicates everything, that sometimes the reward isn't worth the risk? The leader of the group tells Mitch, you tell her just like you told me. You're her father, Mitch. You know what the right thing to do is. Later on, Mitch is at home, and he ends up reading more of his daughter's diary. This is what the newest entry says. Oh my God, Derek was everything I dreamed he would be. The look on his face, he was so nervous and scared, and when it was over, everything was so still, it was perfect. I think I might be a little obsessed. Maybe I'll try Ryan next. He's kind of a dweeb, but I don't want to limit myself, After Ryan, maybe Dave, and then Chad. If I can convince him to skip Math League for once. I bought more you-know-whats for all the fun I'm gonna have. I don't think I've ever felt this free. It's like a small voice in my head keeps saying, live. Mood board, turned on, happy, addicted. Mitch, he is really worried now after reading this. It seems like his daughter is really getting around. Later that night, Mitch is watching the Ice Cream Man on TV, and Jen, she comes downstairs, and she says that she is going out with Ryan tonight. Mitch asks, what happened to Derek? And Jen says, that piece of shit is dead to me now. Mitch tells his daughter that he wants her to be safe. He asks her if she is using protection, and she says, of course she is. She is safer than safe. The next day, Mitch talks to one of the dads in his support group. From the conversation, the other dad starts making Mitch feel better. He tells Mitch that he shouldn't be reading his daughter's diary, but he's doing the best job he can, and sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do. Mitch, he goes home, and he reads his daughter's diary again. And in the latest entry, Jen wrote, I can't stop killing people. I wake up and a little angel whispers in my ear, someone else has to die. And so I go out and I do it again and again. It's so much fun it almost makes me sick. First it was Derek, doofy little Derek with his cleft chin and slight lisp. I made little incisions in the ends of his fingers like paper cuts until he ran out of blood to bleed. Then it was Ryan. He sobbed and begged and admitted he was in love with his own sister. What a creep! He ran out of blood too. Then Troy and then Dave. All of these losers with their dumb brains and their horny little dicks. They're all so sure of themselves, but every time the blade goes through their skin and the blood starts pouring out, and I can see how small they actually are, like slimy little bugs under my shoes. Tonight I'm going out with Sean. Dude bangs on some cymbals for a week and considers himself a musician. It's so sad and pathetic. I wonder how long he'll bleed before the light in his eyes goes out. That's all for now. I am young and the world is beautiful. Moodboard, hungry for blood. Mitch, reading this, breathes a sign of relief. His daughter's not a slut, she's just murdering people. No, I joke, I kid. Mitch is actually very concerned about what his daughter is doing. In his daughter's room, he sees a box, and it is labeled, "You Know What's." And inside the box is a whole bunch of bloody knives. Later that night, Jen, she goes to leave again. She has another date, this one with Sean. Mitch follows his daughter that night, and after the movie, Jen leads Sean down a dark alleyway, and Jen stabs Sean in his stomach. Mitch, he then goes down the alleyway, and he finds and confronts his daughter, Jen, holding a bloody knife, and surprised asks, "Dad, what are you doing here?" And Mitch asks his daughter, "What am I doing here? What am I doing here? Jen, you're a murderer." Sean, who is still alive but bleeding out, says, "I just texted my dad. The cops are on their way. You're toast." Mitch, he then jumps into action to protect his daughter. The cops are going to be here soon. His daughter will be found to be a murderer. Mitch tells Sean, "I really wish you hadn't done that, son." Mitch, he then finishes off Sean with the knife, killing him. Mitch then tells his daughter to go home. She was never here. He is going to take the blame for this. They hug, they both cry, and Jen, she eventually goes home, and Mitch, he gets arrested and goes to jail. 2 years go by. Jen is now in university. Jen is talking to a boy that is there, and she tells the boy that her dad is in jail, death row. The boy comments, "Whoa, heavy. Hey, if you want to take your mind off it, the frat I'm pledging is having a party tonight. No cover for pretty girls." Jen smiles and says that she'll think about it. This leads me to believe that maybe Jen is still killing unsuspecting men. We don't know for sure, though. As the boy leaves, Jen opens a letter that is from her dad, from Mitch in prison. In the letter, Mitch tells his daughter, "Only a few more days until they fry me alive. Execution by electrocution." Mitch, he writes a little bit more, and then he eventually ends his letter by saying, "It might be the end of the road for me, but remember, you've got infinity. You can fold the world to your will like it's nothing but a glob of silly putty. Stretch it, knead it, it's endless. Make it the exact shape you want. Whatever shape that is, it's already perfect. It's pre-approved. You are young and life is beautiful. I'm ready now. Love, Dad." And after that heartwarming story, we end Ice Cream Man Volume 4. Alright, so that was Ice Cream Man Volumes 3 and 4. Let me go through my thoughts on this one. The only issues I really liked a lot in these two volumes were issue 11, the TV story one. That is the one with all the reality TV show parodies, like the Kardashians as zombies and the Bachelor parody, but they're all mannequins. I love the weirdness of it and making fun of all these reality TV shows and how creepy and random it was. I had a lot of fun going through that one, so that was great. I also liked issue 16, Tiny Lives, where we have this teenage daughter and the father's reading her diary and thinks that she is banging all of these boys, but it turns out she's just killing them, and then he takes the blame for her. So I thought that was a pretty fun one as well. Like it. Issue 14, Down and Across, that was kind of typical Ice Cream Man.
Don't miss Clownfish Studios' latest crowdfunder, Crimson Wren Volume Manga Style $1,000, because I've read that if you spent a sizable amount of money on Twitter advertising, they would also give you and some of your staff blue checks, and it's also random. You know, did they like you? Did they think you were notable? Did they like your politics, your tweet history? Lots of really random things that are going to come to an end under Elon Musk, because of course anybody can get verified for $8 going forward. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about some other changes that are being implemented in Twitter, and everybody's acting like it's the end of the world. I'm seeing so many comic book people and journalists out there like our world is ending. I'm like, yeah, because you had this place locked down. You did. You had a cozy little safe space. You had it locked down, and now Musk is coming in and being like, nah, power to the people. This is for everybody. And we can see in real time how much of a threat this is to certain people. You know, we wondered why, certain news outlets get boosted, why certain voices that don't have much of an organic following seem to be listened to more than they should be. And it turns out that, a lot of it is backdoor deals at Twitter. So let's talk about this before we get into it any further. Please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants. Guys, over 280, almost 281,000 subs here on Clownfish TV. Subscribe on YouTube. Check us out on Spotify. I've been uploading episodes on Spotify as well. You can watch video episodes on Spotify. It might be a couple days behind YouTube, but we are out there as well. All right, so this is coming from republicworld.com. A lot of mainstream media outlets are not covering this. And the reason for that is it's going to blow the lid off of the truth behind Twitter's verification system, that there was money involved. Coming from Republic World, Twitter CEO Elon Musk acknowledges a major lapse on the platform relating to blue tick verifications days after he revealed his plans to charge $8 for it. He said that somebody said Twitter employees were selling verification for upwards of $15,000. This is WSB chairman. The user further added that for certain accounts, mine included, they would refuse to verify you through the standard application and then privately offer to verify you for money behind the scenes, and called for people to probe into the matter. Providing a brief response to this, Musk wrote, "Yup," on his Twitter handle. The Twitter CEO also pointed out how easy it has been to acquire a blue tick verification badge on the platform with the help of third-party apps. Acknowledging this, Musk wrote in another post, far too many legacy verified check marks were handed out, often arbitrarily, so in reality, they're not verified. You can buy as many as you want right now with a Google search. Piggybacking off of payment system plus Apple Android is a much better way to ensure verification, he added. Musk's remarks came after Shibatoshi Nakamoto, the creator of Dogecoin, opposed the idea of having to pay $8 a month for verification. Musk reveals his plans of paid verification. We know $8. He's been trolling people. $8, $8, guys, if you want to get verified. Now, I thought this was kind of ridiculous, but you go out to the Atlantic 10 years ago, and they actually said that, yeah, if you pay $15,000 or if you spend 15 grand in advertising, they'll give your account a blue check. And this was 10 years ago. This was long before Elon Musk. This was under Jack Dorsey. We're going to talk about that. They said, yeah, the blue checks don't come cheap if you aren't a household name. That might be a good thing. According to The Atlantic, we know firsthand how much power those blue check marks have on Twitter, as we witnessed from the fake yet briefly authenticated account purporting to belong to Wendy Deng. They've also become status symbols since the company shut down the process to apply for them in 2010. Nowadays, only famous people can get them.
Worst gotcha ever, Nike Goddess of Victory. Is there a trailer for this that I can watch? Let's watch the trailer, and then we will we'll watch.
Sometimes playing a game that you have been eagerly anticipating fails to live up to the unrealistic levels of hype that you've set for it. Other times, you're left absolutely speechless, wondering how they managed to take your expectations and shatter them so matter-of-factly. Now, I was going somewhere with that analogy, but I keep losing my train of thought. I'm not entirely certain as to the reasoning behind that. Regardless, having a different opinion to someone online is always going to leave you open for criticism and personal attacks. This game is good will leave you open to the anger from people that believe the game is horrible. This game is bad will leave you open to the anger from people that believe that the game is fantastic. The purpose of the Worst Gacha Ever series is not to solely criticize a game, nor is it to praise it unconditionally. Rather, this video series exists as a means with which to both critique and to complement various facets of a gacha game that I experienced over a set period of time, sometimes days, sometimes months. Hey, my name is Styx and welcome back to another episode of Worst Gacha Ever. If you enjoyed this series, make sure to like the video, leave a comment, subscribe to the channel, hit that little bell notification because YouTube told me that if you don't, well, you'll probably fail those upgrades tomorrow. Oh, and make sure to check out the last episode in this series at the end of the video. Before we go any further, I just want to take a moment here to thank all of the absolute chads and chadettes that support this channel via Patreon. You're all freaking legends. Seriously, each and every single one of you. I would offer to give each of you a kiss, but I suffer from severe intimacy issues. Additionally, if you want to stay up to date with all the latest MMO gacha and gaming news, take a second here to follow Mrs. Styx and I over on Twitter. We tweet daily. So I was personally invited to play the global closed beta for Nikke by the team themselves. I was given exclusive access to the game, but I was an idiot and I didn't realize that I'd been sent access via email until several days after it had begun. So me being me, decided it would be a great idea to only play for a couple hours per day. This left me severely inhibiting my progress with regards to capturing footage, but I did ultimately end up playing long enough to fully grasp the concepts of the game and enjoy the several days that I'd spent in it. Upon making it through all of the crap on the home screen and finally making it into the game, you're greeted by a vision of a goddess, who you'll quickly find out is Marion.
Commander? No! They're going into cardiac arrest! AED! Charging! Clear! Commander! Are you okay? Can you hear me? Smile if you can hear me. Finally! Can you tell me which section you're from?
And within seconds, you'll immediately realize that this is going to be a very, very addicting game. Not for the gameplay, not for the deep narrative, not for the rich surplus of features and content, not for the fair gacha rates, but for the... Oh yes, this game is filled with so much plot. And after successfully dodging your family for the 20, maybe 30 seconds of alone time that you needed, hey dude, no judgment, we all understand, we've all been there. You'll learn that there is a lot more to this game than the sexy waifus. Nikke is, in fact, well, crap, what would I even classify this game as? A third-person shooter RPG, kinda? You take on the role of the commander of an army of ridiculously hot women. Like, women that would put Victoria's Secret supermodels to shame. And, admittedly, funny enough, actually wear less. Whose singular goal is to comply with your every whim. Yes, you can tell that men made this game. Your goal in the game is to attempt to remain focused long enough to clear each encounter, while each waifu you deploy jiggles without restraint for the entirety of the battle. Each waifu has their own weapon type: shotguns, snipers, assault rifles. Each weapon type serves its own unique purpose. Rocket launchers deal massive damage and hit more of an AoE. Sniper rifles are exceptional at taking down enemies that are outside of the range of your close to mid-range artillery. And while every waifu does have their own unique affinity with and weapons that they ultimately excel in, you'll find yourself not caring at all and just throwing in every hot SSR character you can. Because why would you settle for anything less, right? Trust me, I suffered absolutely no penalty for deploying only the hottest of waifus. Sure, I had no active sniper, but at the same time, that just meant that it took a few extra seconds to take down long distance enemies, which means more time to, well, admire the fantastic scenery present within the game. They did some great work with those buildings and, you know, the pillars over there. Was that I think that was a car. You know what? Maybe not. The scenery. Yeah. Oh, did you know, while we're actually talking about the scenery though, that not only can your waifus take direct cover from enemies by utilizing environmental cover, but the environments themselves are completely destructible, meaning that everything can be blown to pieces. I'll admit, this is episode 13, I think, of the Worst Gacha Ever series, and this is one of the few instances where I've taken the time to listen to the entire story. I sat through it, I listened to the voiceovers, which let me just quickly touch on. The English dub for Nikke is actually really quite good. I'm not fond of English dubs in mobile games. Seriously, they're often so unbelievably trash. But Nikke actually did a surprisingly good job with most of the waifus. There was one or two that kind of bothered me, like Annis, but I feel like I slowly got used to her. I never really liked her voice, but I got used to her enough to where it no longer continued to bother me. The top tier English dub, for mobile standards mind you, we're not talking about God of War or The Last of Us here, really helped the narrative stand out. It helps you connect.
Hi there. So,
Gender and Sexuality Alliance, or GSA, is a necessary and vital component to any quality high school or junior high school experience.
And I also want to tap on where he said no man is going to be with a woman who he doesn't respect. That's a damn lie.
I may have gotten aggressively drunk and made a cheeky little TikTok about the situation.
Hi, I'm gay, bisexual, and I'm also a 5th grade teacher in Chicago.
got it.
Side note, they already know, like, I'm dating a girl. They know that I am bisexual.
Wait a second here. So the students know about her personal life, so her sex life, what's going on with her. I'm not sure if the students actually learn anything. This is a theme. You've got these grown children who use their jobs as group therapy.
And they have a lot of knowledge already.
My dad! Be back! Listen, that child is going to be a pro athlete. Oh!
I met my boyfriend's adult children yesterday. It was terrible. Garrett and Trinity absolutely sucked. Two waspy brats with nothing better to do than give me the side eye. Oh, I may have...
All right, so I'm trying to envision the man here. So her boyfriend's adult kids. She looks like she's maybe 33, so the boyfriend's maybe 50-something. This should end well.
Gotten aggressively drunk and made a cheeky little TikTok about the situation, as I should have. My boyfriend, however, saw the TikTok and dumped me because I was cyberbullying his kids.
That's the best thing to happen to the old boyfriend, is to see that. See it early on, cut your losses. You want to see these fatal flaws early on. You don't want to find out later, well, this gets better. Stand by.
They were real life bullying me. Naturally, I'm on my way to get drinks with his boss. He makes way more and has a terrible relationship with his kids. So, like, I have a really good feeling about this one. Do my ex, or do I wait in like a month or two when a framed picture of me ends up on his boss's desk?
This is the one that comes over to the house and gets your kid's rabbit, boils it. Does she wait until the framed pictures of her with the boss? What a loser.
Which would rock as a...
And one. Face up. On the count of 3. 1.
I've been trying to wrap my arms around this to understand why. Why would you do this in class? And I still can't get it.
2, 3. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the Afro-American people. Under God, I will protect freedom.
I thought it was African American, not Afro American. I mean, what in the hell is going on here? Is this helping the kids? You can listen to the class. I suspect it's not a class full of black kids, and they live in America, right? And they're a minority, so you think you just want to, like, integrate, right? Diversity is our greatest strength, so you want to be part of the culture, not create up some new bullshit flag that no one cares about.
Seek peace, honor our ancestors, and encourage and support the development and prosperity of people of African descent. You may be seated.
We do have a flag in the class that you can pledge your allegiance to. And he, like, looks around and he goes, oh, that one?
Nice. All right, so let me set the stage here. Guy brings in his hot girlfriend, right, so they can have a fun time. All of a sudden, he's sleeping and hears some heels walking around. He's like, hey, honey, what are you doing? Let's keep going.
Where you going? What's going on? Huh?
Sorry, I forgot to tell you that my friend invited me out.
Right.
You forgot to tell me, huh? And I'm asleep. How you forget to tell me, huh?
Because you were sleeping, I didn't want to wake you up.
You didn't want to wake me up, huh? But I flew you out with me. Why didn't you tell me this earlier?
Don't feel like that. I was just gonna go see my friend.
That don't make no sense. It's 12:30 in the middle of the...
Don't be like that. I'm just going to go see my friend. Friend has a Johnson. Friend's going to be Giga Chad, and you paid for it. He's getting it.
In the night.
Girl, I haven't seen in like years.
But why didn't you tell me this earlier while we were out eating at a 5-star restaurant?
She just came up with it. Like, she didn't know if she was available.
So when I go to sleep, you get up and you get dolled up. You weren't even looking like this earlier today, and now you ready to go and kick it with your friends. That don't make no sense to me. And I flew you out here.
Why do you keep saying that? Just because you flew me out here?
I'm saying that because I feel some type of way. Look at how good.
There is somewhat of a transaction. If I fly you out somewhere, kind of expect you to spend time with me. I'm not saying it's got to be physical time, but I'm expecting you're coming because I brought you. We're going to spend time together. Unless plans are designated otherwise, that would be the normal thought process.
You're looking fabulous.
Because like you were sleeping and we came out of town to have fun. Why?
Okay, let me see the phone then.
Why do you want to see my phone?
Because
you're not even my man to want to see my phone.
Gender and Sexuality Alliance, or GSA, is a necessary and vital component to any quality high school or junior high school experience.
Is it a necessary component? You know, we didn't have this not long ago, and now we have it. Are things getting better? Are the kids more adjusted? Is this really important to this guy on the screen? He reminds me of somebody that I'm about to show you.
The first thing he said to me was...
From an educator's perspective, running a GSA is a very rewarding task, and you'll get to support your LGBTQ students in a variety of ways, depending on their needs, their goals, and their status within your school or...
Very rewarding task. I mean, look at this guy. He's got written all over his face, I can't be within 500 feet of a school coming up. I suspect there's pictures on his computer that are unsavory. He looks the part of the, you know where I'm going with this.
Community. The first and most basic GSA task, protection. No matter how evolved and accepting your learning...
Does that mean they're handing out Jimmy caps, protection, condoms? Was that what protection means?
...environment is, there's always a risk of your kids being singled out for who they are. And if your kids don't feel supported, then nothing else your club does...
After all this brainwashing, do you think that normal kids are going to pick on LGBT divided by 6 kids? Is that really a thing the kids would think about? We've been brainwashed nonstop. When I was a young kid, we didn't pick on people like that. I mean, maybe it was brief, you say something, you moved on. But come on.
This matters very much. As a sponsor, you get to provide a safe place to be if the world is feeling particularly hostile today. Make your classroom and club space a clear declaration of support and safety. Post your pronouns at the door. Give students space and...
Post your pronouns at the door. That way they can identify you as mentally ill teacher Cho, last name Mo. I mean, come on, man.
Time to support each other. Recognize trends and behavior patterns in hostile student groups and community members. Help your students avoid them or confront them directly. And if you feel safe enough to do so, have conversations with your colleagues who are unknowingly making their students feel uneasy.
What are you going to say? So your colleagues are unknowingly. Does that mean you don't have your pronouns at the front door? I mean, you see where this goes. So if you don't have your pronouns, this guy's going to come up and say, hey, Mr. Johnson, you don't have your pronouns at the front door, so the kids are you're unknowingly making them feel unsafe.
Safe. Protection might be the easiest part of sponsoring a GSA, or it might be the toughest. But establishing it enables all the other wonderful things that your club can do. I'm sorry, did you need something?
Do men like seeing women half naked on social media? Yes, their women half naked on social media.
Well, this clip's very telling. Because you got real divergence of reality here. This guy's just calling it like it is. Yeah, we'll look at it. We'll definitely stare. I mean, it's there. That's natural. But what does it mean? Are you interested in her more than just running through it, right? Stand by.
For everybody to see. What women need to understand is that men are visual creatures. We like to look at things that looks nice to us. But just because it look nice to us does not mean we respect it. And no man is going to be with a woman he do not respect. See, in our mind, She's half naked on social media for attention, male validation. She probably have low self-esteem.
All right, so far, is anything he's saying off from a man's standpoint? And women chime in, let me know, and you'll hear her standpoint, which is radically different. She's living in some delusion.
She's insecure, and no man is going to look at that and say, you know what? That's who I'm going to make my woman. That's who I want to start my family with. That's who I want to be.
By the way, what the hell is on her head? It's like an oversized chef's hat or OR nurse's hat or...
Build a foundation with, build up an empire with. Nah. We might look at it. We might even holler. Might even sleep with it. But we not taking it serious.
Buckle up, kids. Let's go. I wholeheartedly believe that that's how the men think. No doubt about it. But the thing is, y'all killed me with the respectability thing. I've never understood the, well, you dress like this, so I'm not going to respect you.
Just because you don't understand it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. You may not understand it at all. You don't get it. Somebody dressed like they're a street person, you know, one of those things, you get me? You may not get it, but that's how it works. So we're trying to educate you here, honey.
Personally, that has never made sense to me. Why would I not respect you based on the clothing that you choose to wear? Like I've said before, y'all just exposed that you're shitty people. Weird as hell.
Here's the thing. So clothing matters. We all know that. If I'm on this video with a suit, shaved face, hair done however, I look different than I look now. I mean, we know that. You can look past it once you get to know somebody. But when you see them, the first impression is the outside. And this woman's living in, again, total lie, told a fantasy, fairy tale, and believes it.
And I also want to tap on where he said no man is going to be with a woman who he doesn't respect. That's a damn lie. There's a shit.
What the hell is wrong with these people with nails? They can't work with nails like that. There's no function you can do besides being a professional back scratcher that is going to work for you.
Load of men who are dating or married to women in whom they don't like nor respect. Disrespect these women constantly. Something a lot of y'all choose to miss is that it's not really about the clothing. It's about the fact that that woman is a woman. I've been yelling this for the past few days. Misogyny. So the condition of lack of respect doesn't just...
You can say it's misogyny all you want. You can say it's the guy's fault all you want, but you're still going to be unhappy, confused, not connecting with the partner because you're lying to yourself. If you don't think that men are going to look at it and go, okay, she's attractive, I hit it, right? But I ain't going to marry, I'm not taking it home to mama. That's how we think. That doesn't mean they won't respect you as a person. They're not going to respect you as a future partner. There's a big difference here.
Come on the basis of what that woman is wearing. So attention, male validation, insecurity, and low self-esteem. That's another place where a lot of y'all go wrong. You associate those women to things that are constantly...
You went wrong with those red eyebrows, honey.
Negative. Just because you perceive it as negative. Y'all are trying to take your own ideas and apply it on somebody else. And you want to know why the male...
Isn't that how it works? You take your own ideas and you tell somebody. I guess we can call that applying it. That's how life works. I don't know what the hell. She's got some sort of idiot logic here. Peasant logic, intellectual. You know, all these people are very intellectual. They're smarter than you. Just ask.
No validation one doesn't make sense. Look at what you're saying. We know that y'all are going to use the way that we dress or what we do on social media against us. So why do you think we will be doing it for male validation? Attention? Absolutely. Validation.
Because you've been taught by social media influence that looking like a hoochie mama is popular. And that's what you should do. So that's the way people have been trained. You look at a Kardashian, you're like, well, I can look like that. And you're 230 pounds, you get cottage cheese, and you get yoga pants that don't look the same. So it's taught, right? It's taught that's what men want, and men will look at it. But that doesn't mean it's a take-home to mama type.
Hell no. The only women that y'all give male validation to are the women that regurgitate the misogynistic that y'all do.
Right,
it's as simple as that. Y'all's problem is that y'all think those women are insecure. Y'all think that those women have low self-esteem. Y'all think that they're doing it for attention. Y'all think...
Sounds like y'all, which would be males, are the ones at fault here. So somehow they got to readjust their whole mind, remap it to fit with her logic. Instead of saying, okay, I see their point. I may not agree with it, but I see where they're coming from. Can you see my point? Or just work within the confines that I'm going to dress like appropriate. I'm going to look the part of the person I want to attract. So if I want to attract a long-term partner, I'm going to try to look that way.
Number 8, David Bonola. On April the 16th of 2022, human remains were found stuffed in a hockey bag on the side of the road in the Forest Hills neighborhood of Queens, New York City. Investigators followed up on a blood trail, and the victim was identified as Hungarian national Orsolya Gal, a 51-year-old mother of two. The lack of forced entry into her home led law enforcement to believe that Gal knew her killer. A note on her refrigerator read, "Get a new handyman," and it proved vital in the police eventually identifying the suspect as 44-year-old David Bonola. He and the married woman had had an on-again, off-again affair, lasting for about 2 years. During that time, Bonola, a Mexican immigrant living in the U.S. illegally, had done handiwork around Gal's home. 4 days after the woman's brutal murder, the police stopped Bonola near the crime scene and took him into custody. Upon speaking to detectives, he reportedly made several incriminating statements before eventually giving a confession. Bonola told law enforcement that Gal had been seeing other men and that he felt she'd used him. He also reported that he wanted payback as he thought she'd given him HIV. As an argument about the end of their relationship escalated, Gal asked him to leave, but he refused, at which point she allegedly threatened him with a knife. Bonola took the knife from her, slashed her throat, and inflicted close to 60 other wounds. He then placed her lifeless body in her son's duffel bag and abandoned it in the neighborhood. Less than a mile from her home, he was charged with second-degree murder, burglary, concealment of a human corpse, and tampering with physical evidence. Number 7. Elizabeth Lena James. On August the 15th of 2018, law enforcement in Lawrence, South Carolina, responded to reports of animal cruelty at a property on Lisbon Road. They arrived to find a mastiff mix named Champ, who was severely emaciated and covered in maggots, at the home of 30-year-old Elizabeth. Lena James. The dog was roughly 60 pounds underweight and too weak to stand on his own. He'd belonged to James's ex-boyfriend, following the breakup in a twisted act of revenge. James kept Champ chained up and for months refused to feed him, even though she kept giving food to her own dogs. the woman was arrested for animal cruelty and booked at the Lawrence County Detention Center on a $15,000 bond. Champ was placed with Rescue Dogs Rock NYC and began recovering, with his progress updated through a Facebook page called Justice for Champ. For her horrific treatment of the dog, James was sentenced to 90 days in jail. Number 6. Candice Nicole Jones and Edward Brannon Barry, both aged 32, pleaded guilty in a Texas court to a revenge killing in April of 2019. The victim, Texas woman Emily Hacker, had been found buried in a burned-out shallow grave about 10 days since her disappearance in January of 2017. Prior to her murder, she'd been stopped by the police on a traffic violation, and a search of her truck produced a loaded handgun. According to an affidavit, 34-year-old Hacker told the police that the weapon belonged to Jones, and the latter subsequently planned to murder her in revenge. She elicited Barry's help, as well as that of 3 other people who'd subsequently be indicted. Hacker's cause of death was listed as blunt force trauma. The suspects put her body in a zippered bag and moved it to Lyons, about 40 miles from her home in Rockdale, where they buried it and then burned the shallow grave's contents in an effort to destroy the evidence. As of subsequent information pertaining to the case, Jones and Barry were each sentenced to 50 years in prison, following a plea deal in which they waived their right to appeal. Their accomplices, Ashley Yvonne Wesson Zawadsky, John Wayne Stewart, and Kevin Cormier, pleaded guilty to lesser charges. The latter was given the most lenient sentence of probation for 10 years after admitting that he'd helped move Hacker's body. Number 5. Hannah Starr Issa. In late September of 2022, law enforcement in Cypress, California, received reports that a pedestrian had been struck by a vehicle near a local park. They arrived to find the body of 43-year-old Luis Anthony, a father of 5. Earlier that evening, a confrontation had occurred between him and 20-year-old Hannah Starr Issa, which the young woman had recorded on her cell phone. She accused him of trying to run over a cat in the street. They argued for some time before Issa got back inside her vehicle. She then made a 3-point turn and barreled towards Anthony, filming the entire incident in what the authorities would describe as her exhibiting a complete disregard for human life. The young woman hit Anthony with her car. He was thrown onto her windshield and flipped over her vehicle several times before landing on the street and dying on impact. Issa was taken into custody on murder charges, with her bond set at $1 million and her arraignment scheduled for October the 13th. Number 4. Abdul Abu Mahmoud. In the early hours of Good Friday 2017, a hitman kicked open the front door of a home in Glenfield in Sydney's southwest. He shot teenager Braden Dillon in the head as he was sleeping in his bed, and he later passed away. 3 months later, local authorities arrested Conrad Craig, a member of the Brothers for Life street gang, and charged him with murder, but he refused to reveal his motive. In January of 2019, while in detention at Lithgow Jail, 29-year-old Craig started cutting his face and arms with a pair of scissors in a bid to get the attention of a detective working on Dillon's case. He asked to be moved from his current prison and revealed not only that he'd been responsible for the killing, but also that it had been a form of gangland retribution. Craig told investigators that he'd been hired and paid $20,000 for the hit on Dillon by a man named Abdul Abu Mahmoud. The latter had picked him up from Cessnock prison when he was released on an unrelated charge and provided him with a weapon and ammunition. Dillon's older brother, Joshua, had been charged with fatally stabbing Abu Mahmoud's nephew, Adam, in a Panania street fight in 2016. He was eventually found not guilty on grounds of self-defense, but while he was in custody, Abu Mahmoud contracted Craig to attack his innocent younger brother as retribution. Craig described the fatal outcome of the revenge plot as a kneecapping gone wrong and was sentenced to at least 40 years in prison in the aftermath. Abu Mahmoud, who sported tattoos that read "Revenge is a dish best served cold" and "Eye for an eye" on his legs, was found guilty of murder in September of 2020 and faced a sentence of life in prison. Number 3. Andrew Hall and Cheyenne Blaylock. Oklahoma man Andrew Hall and his teenage girlfriend, Cheyenne Blaylock, were charged with murder in January of 2020 in an incident allegedly sparked by the former's desire for payback. On New Year's Day, the body of Kirsten Patterson was found just south of Locust Grove at the Spring Creek boat ramp on the Neosho River. She'd been reported missing and was a suspected runaway before law enforcement discovered that she'd been fatally shot in the head. Patterson was a schoolmate of Blaylock's at Shoto High School, at whom Hall was angry for allegedly giving him an STD. As per Blaylock's subsequent testimony, he'd instructed her to text the victim, inviting her to take a ride with him. Patterson met the couple, at which point either Blaylock or Hall ambushed and shot her in the head with a hunting rifle. It wasn't clear who'd pulled the trigger, as following their arrest on the same day as the body's discovery, the teen and her 30-year-old boyfriend pointed the finger at each other. They were both eventually found guilty of first-degree murder and sentenced to life without parole. Today's topic was requested by Look Who's Watching. If you have any other topics you'd like to learn about, subscribe and let us know in the comments section below. Number 2. Fabio DeLello. 33-year-old Italian woman Roberta Smargiassi was killed in a car crash in 2016 after a man had run a red light and crashed into her scooter with his Fiat. 22-year-old Italo DeLisa faced manslaughter charges in connection to the incident. In the aftermath, Smargiassi's husband, Fabio DeLello, fell into a deep depression and reportedly felt like he couldn't trust Italy's dysfunctional courts to prosecute DeLisa. He left a clue of what was to come on Facebook when he changed his cover photo to one showing Maximus Decimus Meridius, Russell Crowe's character in the Gladiator film. A former general in command of Roman legions, the character fell into slavery and became a gladiator while seeking vengeance for the killing of his wife and daughter. 34-year-old DeLello, a baker and semi-professional soccer player, tracked DeLisa down outside a cafe in Vasto on January the 1st of 2017. He brandished a 9mm handgun and fatally shot him 3 times as payback for running over his wife. DeLello then went to Smargiassi's grave and placed the weapon on it. As the police were called to the cemetery, they took the man into custody and charged him with murder. Prosecutors described the incident as a tragedy within a tragedy, while DeLello's lawyer told a media outlet he never imagined he was planning a vendetta. He stated that his client had no experience in handling firearms, but did note that he was in a very fragile psychological state. For the brazen revenge killing, DeLello was eventually sentenced to 30 years in prison. Number 1. Emma Pressler. On August the 6th of 2021, residents in the Houston suburb of Kingwood were alerted by the sound of an explosion. In the moments that followed, couple Carissa Lindros and Devin Graham ran out of their home, both engulfed in flames. A neighbor would later tell the police that 33-year-old Graham no longer had any clothes and his skin was peeling off. As he was screaming his lungs out, he suffered burns to 90% of his body and passed away a few days later. His girlfriend, 26-year-old Lindros, was left in critical condition with burns covering 70% of her body, but she ultimately survived. A white female was seen leaving the scene of the fire in a 4-door sedan, and she'd later be identified as 19-year-old Emma Pressler. Before dying, Graham revealed that she'd broken into their home and set both him and Lindros ablaze using gasoline. Lindros couldn't speak on account of her severe injuries, but when the police talked to her on August the 16th, she confirmed that Pressler had been the culprit. She motioned a lighter when asked how she'd set them on fire. There was evidence that the two women knew each other, and gang-related payback was suspected as the root cause of Pressler's actions, although the details weren't disclosed. The teenager had made headlines the year prior when she was linked to the murder of 20-year-old Sierra Rod, a cerebral palsy sufferer from Harris County. She was killed inside her home, which was struck by a flurry of bullets in a drive-by shooting. The target had actually been Rod's teenage brother, who'd reportedly been feuding with a Houston area gang known as 10K. The shooters took off in several vehicles, including a red pickup truck belonging to Austin McCalla, Pressler's then-boyfriend. The teen was found driving the vehicle not long after the shooting, and the police took her into custody. McCalla and 3 others were charged with Rod's murder, but Pressler was released as prosecutors failed to convince a judge there was probable cause for her to be charged. Thanks for watching. For a month, would you rather be relentlessly stalked by your ex or go through a maze whenever you had to use the bathroom? Let us know in the comments.
الله الرحمن الرحيم. السلام عليه أسفل الفيديو ده
Welcome to Wednesday.
Is that Ascension?
Wednesday, your number one.
I think that's
resource for
Ascension.
an entire week's worth of VR news. Okay, so if you thought the situation was bad a few weeks ago regarding Meta, about to support hand tracking, Unreal Engine 5 makes VR look incredibly realistic, and Rec Room is about to expel a large portion of its player base. All that and so much more, let's just get right into the news. So remember months ago I talked about Meta's stock free-falling and them losing about $251 billion of value? Well, while that was bad, it's gotten much, much worse just this past week. That $251 billion is now closer to a $700 billion lost. The company, previously valued at over $1 trillion, is now only worth $250 billion. And to give you an idea of how bad this has gotten, Home Depot as a company is worth more than Meta right now. And unfortunately, the Quest Pro launch didn't do much to help. And things have gotten so bad that I am, at this point, seriously concerned. I mean, you even have the Mad Money guy crying about Meta stock.
I apologize.
And all of this has to do with a few things, but mostly Meta's spending and gross lack of revenue. In a Q3 earnings report, Reality Labs, the division behind everything VR at Meta, reported its worst revenue quarter ever, pulling in half as much as last year from $558 million to $285 million. And they blame this directly on the drastically lower sales of the Quest 2, which makes sense. A whole lot of factors, from the Quest 2's price increase making it less appealing, to very few new games and applications coming to the Quest and rising competition. The Quest 2 just isn't selling nearly as well as it did at launch, which is kind of what happens when your device gets more expensive and doesn't get any more software. The other problem that is alarming investors is the spending, as Reality Labs has been spending billions on R&D with massive teams. Apparently, the Horizon team itself has over 1,900 employees, take that however you want. And all of this wouldn't be so bad, except Zuckerberg not only stated that they're going to keep spending like this, but that they're going to spend more, and that revenue will likely decrease even further. And investors have, no joke, pretty much started protesting Zuckerberg, as he's pretty much the only one in power. If this were a different company that were organized differently, the board would have likely voted him out of CEO. It's gotten to that point. But he's here to stay, and I'm honestly pretty mixed on this whole situation. As much crap as we give Meta and Horizon, they have put their foot down. They gave the middle finger to investors that are just looking for short-term revenue. They are quite literally betting the farm on the AR and VR industry and putting everything that Meta is on the line, which I can massively respect. There's no other company in the world that is investing as heavily in the VR industry as Meta. But it's also pretty concerning. They spent years being pretty anti-competitive, and now that the industry didn't grow how they had anticipated, it's biting them in the butt. They bought all the best studios in the world, and then no more games came out from them. It's just kind of a weird situation. And I've actually got a lot more to say on this whole subject. I'm probably going to end up doing a full Dear Meta video soon, because while, yes, it's amazing that Meta is trying so hard and investing so much money to keep the industry alive, like, we all appreciate it, and VR wouldn't be where it is now without those investments, but at the same time, losing 70% of your company's value within a year after changing your name to Meta is a little scary, not only for Meta themselves, but to the entire VR industry that they're trying to shape. And I'm definitely going to keep watching this. I don't think Meta's going to go belly up or anything, but these next 2 years may be especially tough on the company. And I'll also say that every tech company in the world is watching Meta sink with their investments into the VR industry, and it's not making VR look all that appealing. I just hope that we don't have another 1983 situation on our hands. I don't think that's the case, but it's still a little scary. Also related, Mark Zuckerberg is about to testify before Congress yet again regarding this Federal Trade Commission case for anti-competitive practices, where Meta was recently blocked from acquiring Within Unlimited. And who knows, maybe Meta is just driving their value into the dirt to get the FTC off their backs, but hey, that's just a theory. And on the positive side of things, Quest 3 was officially confirmed to be coming late next year. But given everything we just talked about, this upcoming Rec Room situation makes a lot more sense. So Rec Room is one of the largest VR social apps to have ever existed, successful, not only bringing in millions of users from pretty much any device you can imagine, but also raking in a ton of investment money as one of the few unicorns of the VR industry, pulling in $100 million in a funding round last year. And if you've spent any time in Rec Room, you'll know that a large portion of the user base is pretty young. The Rec Room squeaker is a very real thing. And this is actually aided by Rec Room, as they've supported both standard accounts and something they call junior accounts, an account type that allows kids 12 and under to still play Rec Room. They just aren't allowed to speak, send messages, or damage other players. But this is all about to change, as Meta stated they would remove Rec Room from the App Store if they didn't remove junior accounts from the game. And this isn't just limited to Rec Room, this is an entire store-sweeping change across all apps, basically sending the message, don't allow anyone under 13 years of age to play or you're off the store, with them officially stating that Meta devices are, quote, not toys and children have greater risk of injury and adverse effects than older users, end quote, and are as much as possible. But now it's time for a meme break! Excitement for the PSVR 2 after the price was announced. Kinda kidding, but maybe not. I guess this week's meme break will just be the topic, because the highly awaited PSVR 2's price and release date were just announced today. With pre-orders starting in November and shipping February 22nd, the OLED PlayStation VR 2 will cost $549, more than the cost of the PlayStation 5 itself, and I don't know what I really expected. I don't know, maybe that price doesn't sound too bad to some people considering all the tech that's jammed in the headset, but I was really hoping for more like a $300 or $400 headset. I mean, I've tried it before and it's good, like really good, but it's wired and only works with the PS5. It just sounds really steep that to be in PSVR, you're in well over $1,000. Sony did announce a bunch of games that will be coming, and I think that the exclusive category is where they're really going to be pushing sales. Games like Horizon, not that Horizon, Crossfire, and Firewall all look really good, so we'll have to see. I don't know, what do you think about this price? And of course, I'll get one and review it. It's no joke the reason why I got a PlayStation 5 at all. I'm just hoping that either modders or Sony themselves will enable some sort of PC VR support. Would definitely bring a lot more value to this $500 plus headset. VRChat has just received a pretty exciting update bringing hand tracking to Quest 2 and Quest Pro on their beta branch. So far, this only works with the standalone version of VRChat, them stating that PC VR implementation is halted due to platform and technical restrictions, and there are workarounds for hand tracking on PC that you can use now, although it's not quite the same as having full-on hand tracking support. It's more like controller emulation using hand tracking. But not gonna lie, regarding VRChat, they've done a crazy amazing job the past few months bringing updates since the Easy Anti-Cheat fiasco. Whether you agree with that original decision or not, from personal mirrors to user interface updates, basically everything people have been asking for years have been added in some way, shape, or form. Easily, VRChat's in its best state it's ever been right now, and the updates just keep coming. I hope that they don't for VRC. So the Quest Pro just launched with Qualcomm's latest processor, the Snapdragon XR2 Plus, to a more consumer audience. Unreal Engine 5 launched earlier this year with some pretty impressive tech demos, but two big features that pushed the engine to the next level initially did not support VR, those being Lumen and Nanite, and this has all changed recently with Unreal Engine 5.2. And holy crap, one of the demos shown off on Twitter displays some of the most realistic looking VR scenes I've ever seen. The demo just being a simple cave and flashlight, but it still looks really impressive. And I know PC VR hasn't exactly gotten the most attention lately, and PC VR is turning out to be quite expensive, but if games end up looking like this for those platforms, I think it's going to bring quite a bit of attention to both platforms. There are just a few things that you can't do on a mobile processor. The Pico 4 has been out in Europe and Asia for a few weeks now, and it's been doing pretty
Dandelions. I like to blow on dandelions because it messes up other people's lawns. It's like hard work, but it's worth it to spread weeds. Weeds are cool. What's she saying? Mama always said look up into the sky? My mom never said anything like that. Yeah, really, neither did mine. You're like, Beavis? Mama's got the liquor flu. Get out of here and close the door. Don't slam it. Mama always said that she's hungover. Just make yourself some Cheerios. Mama always said there's food in the fridge. I'll be back in about 2 weeks. I think this is like from a new Pixar movie or something. This is cooler than Pixar. Pixar sucks. Oh, but it, but it, I got something to say. Go ahead, Beavis. Yeah, I was just thinking, you know, because you said Pixar. I was just thinking of Dixar. God damn it, Beavis, you still got it. Yeah, thanks, bud. You know, sometimes, you know, it just comes to me. I don't know where it comes from, you know. Don't even question where it comes from, Beavis. It is a gift, but also a responsibility. Do you have any other good ones? Well, you know, I was thinking of one, you know, like instead of DreamWorks, it would be like, like Schlongworks, you know. Yeah, I don't know, I guess that's not very good. Ugh. It sure isn't, Beavis. That's worse than not very good. That's horrible. You're back to being worthless. You ruined everything. Come on, buddy, come on. I mean, Dixar's still pretty good, right? Dixar was a long time ago, Beavis. I don't even know if that's funny anymore. You're like, Beavis, Mama's got the liquor flu. Get out of here and close the door. Don't slam it. Mama always said that she's hungover. Just make yourself some Cheerios.
Key to a great party. I think it's obvious. Me being there. You gotta have a lot of food. I don't go if there ain't food there. Cannot emphasize that enough. You gotta have good music, not that rap crap. Hot hors d'oeuvres, sandwiches ain't bad, and booze, lots of booze. And women. The ideal party is me, hot food surrounded by hot women. And food. And booze.
Today I'd like to talk about another series that deserves a little more attention. Today's anime is about dogs hunting bears in the Japanese mountainside. It's Silver Fang from 1986. Ginga Nagare Boshi Gin, or Silver Fang as some may know it, takes place in the mountainous northern regions of Japan. The story looks in on a hunter as he makes his way through a sizable snowstorm. Locals have sighted a bear in the surrounding area, so it's up to Old Man Gohei and his trusty bear dogs to get rid of it before it causes any trouble. Unfortunately for him, this is no ordinary bear. This is the legendary Akakabuto, a red-backed monster bear that's way too much for any one man to handle. An entire ambush takes place in the blink of an eye, and before you know it, Gohei has 3 less dogs and 1 less ear to his name. After that, the anime flashes forward to the present, where the hunt for this monstrous bear rages on. During his first encounter, he ended up escaping by shooting out one of its eyeballs, but unfortunately, this had the unintended side effect of wrecking its nervous system in the process. Unable to hibernate and growing larger every year, it's been roaming the mountains ever since. On the other side of the mountain, we get introduced to the second central character of the anime, Gohei's grandson, Daisuke. He's overseeing the birth of a new litter of puppies, and he's absolutely overjoyed that a rare silver-colored striped Akita has just been born. Silver Akitas are a pretty rare sight, so Daisuke names him Gin, the Japanese word for silver, to commemorate the occasion. Wanting to show him off, he looks for the puppy's father, but unfortunately he's on the hunt with Old Man Gohei, and a storm has barreled down on the village, blocking anyone from exploring the mountainside. In typical shonen fashion, Daisuke decides to steal a snowmobile and heads into the mountainside undeterred. It's been days since Gohei went hunting, and this entire time he's been trapped in a crevice with his one surviving hunting dog. The monster bear has been blocking their escape path, trapping them without food or water for days on end. With a broken leg and no other options, Gohei cuts it off at the knee, hoping that he can give his dog the strength that it needs to escape. Luckily, his grandson and the young puppy arrive just in time, but even crashing an entire snowmobile into the bear doesn't even faze it. Watching in awe, the newborn puppy sees his father fight to his last breath, and just like his grandfather before him, another dog gets added to the pile. And so, the story of 3 generations of bear dogs unfolds, and the endless fight against the monster bear Akakabuto begins. This first episode does an absolutely fantastic job of building suspense, and it really sets the tone for the rest of the series. You get to see Gin go through training, eating bear meat, and growing up, and even Daisuke himself takes up a bow and arrow to hunt some bears of his own. At first, it seems like a story about a dog and his boy training to become the #1 bear hunters in the country, but somewhere around episode 6, the story drops the human characters entirely. Not only is Akakabuto berserk from lack of sleep, but he's also grown to over 5 times the size of a normal bear. Reports say that he's amassing a bear kingdom in the mountains, so in order to fight him, Gin's gonna need an entire dog army. This is when Gin becomes the main character, so you end up with an anime about dogs fighting over territory for the rest of the series. Now, I don't know if you can call dogs manly, but if it weren't about a bunch of dogs fighting bears, you could replace the entire cast with samurai, and the characters would largely feel the same. Alliances are formed, characters make noble sacrifices, and we're introduced to every breed of dog that you can imagine. I think the idea was to make a distinct cast of characters, while also giving the show a lot of interesting set pieces to work with. If it took place entirely in the mountains, you would probably get bored of it, but every few episodes has them visiting a new part of Japan while they're recruiting more dogs, which gives it a sense of adventure and keeps it from getting stale. Let's talk about the music for a second. People have been writing stories about bears since the dawn of time, but when Akakabuto's theme starts playing, you can really feel the cold wind chill you down to your bones. There's something to be said about the raw emotion the soundtrack has, and it really helps add to the atmosphere. By far, the most memorable and interesting aspect has to be the reality of it. Dogs bleed, necks get sliced off by bears, and for a show aimed at a general audience, there's significantly more action than you would expect. Most people would consider it pretty tame by today's standards, but its depictions of dogs hunting bears was so shocking to 1980s viewers that it was heavily truncated in a number of countries. Most notably, its finished release was edited down into 5 VHS tapes, where it was toned down significantly to comply with broadcast standards at the time. However, in the face of that, it gained such a large following that many people consider it one of the all-time classics. In Finland specifically, there was a time where you couldn't find somebody that didn't know Silverfang's name. So popular was this anime that in 2011, series creator Yoshihiro Takahashi was invited to anime convention TrackCon as a celebrated guest of honor. 1 year prior to that, it was the #1 selling manga in the country, so his works are currently more popular in Finland than they are in his home country of Japan. His works are so popular over there that they've translated all of his side stories, all of his spin-offs, and even his manga about Lassie, which I think is pretty cool. In an interview posted on fansite Ginganet, he says that when the series was published, he believed that a part of its success was because it reminded people of disappearing values, like friendship and respecting others. The series' success abroad told him that people are starting to miss those things overseas as well. In addition to being popular with people who like stories about manly dogs fighting manly things, it also gained a huge female fan base, which really surprised the creator. He estimates that around 80% of his fans are probably women, and that just goes to show you that everybody just loves dogs. His series are so laser focused on the subject that he even goes for walks at dog parks just so he can make some sketches for his future manga. He got the idea for this series in 1980 when he read an article about domestic dogs that ran away from their owners and lived as wild dogs in the mountains. The idea fascinated him, which led him to create the anime that we're talking about today. In 1987, the series won the Shogakukan Manga Award for shonen manga, and 25 years later, it spawned a sequel about Gin's son as the 4th generation of bear dogs in the mountains of O. This version of the show tried to bring in a new audience, but it's largely a direct sequel, even though I don't think it's trying to be. Over 15 years on from the events of the original, a new threat is eliminating dogs at an even faster rate than Akakabuto ever did. Running out of ways to fight it, it's up to Weed, a new dog who keeps popping up no matter how hard you try to get rid of him. Many characters, both new and old, show up to guide Gin's son towards being the new pack leader, and while Ginga Nagareboshi Gin was a self-contained story about dogs fighting bears, Weedo relies on you seeing that first series for a lot of its emotional impact. I won't get into any specifics, but it treads a lot of the same territory as the original, making me wonder why they would tell the same story twice. Maybe I've just seen the 80s series too many times, but something feels really off about the whole thing in a way that I can't really put my finger on. For one, they really toned down the action, which was a large part of why I enjoyed the original so much, and what little is there is implied or changed in a way to make it a lot less memorable. There's also something to be said about the art style too. Gin's son has these big round puppy dog eyes that make him look kind of like a bobblehead, and the overall tone is much softer than I would expect. I'm guessing they wanted to sell a bunch of toys when the anime came out, and with Weedo and Gin being such iconic characters, it's no surprise why they went in that direction. Even if you've never heard of the Akita dogs of Japan, you're probably familiar with the story of Hachiko, a good dog who waited for his missing master for almost 10 years. The Akitas are considered a national treasure, so maybe it's a marketing thing where they wanted to make it look more like a modern anime. Honestly, this is probably one of those things where the people in the comments can point it out better than I can, but the whole thing just has this plastic feeling to it that was very common for shows of the early 2000s, and the original has these real thick stylized outlines that I felt were much more organic and easy to watch. I thought it might have been a little bit too hard on it, but in this one interview I read, the creator said it was pretty rough too, which is probably why it's never gotten another anime. That said, the series still continued in manga form and has over 100 volumes at the time of this writing. Weedo was then followed with Ginga Densetsu Riki, the side story about Gin's father, Ginga the Last Wars, the story of Weedo's kids, and finally Ginga Densetsu Noah. The creator was quoted as saying that he'd like to beat the all-time record of volumes set by the manga Kochi Kame, so he's still writing stories about dogs even today. Silverfang was serialized in Shonen Jump from 1983 to 1987, but even though it shared pages with famous series like Fist of the North Star and JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, it looks like it's been largely ignored in recent years. I went and checked out the manga to see how the story continues, and it has Gin fighting wolves that summon tornadoes with ninja chanting, so apparently the series just goes completely off the rails after that anime ends. Needless to say, it's got a pretty dedicated following, and in 2020, Japan put out a cat-style musical about it, with singing, costumes, and instead of cats, it's people in dog suits. So if you know Japanese, and you're into musicals, and you're in Japan, and you're already a fan of this series, then maybe that's something to look into. It's funny to think about it, but the entire 80s anime may have been an afterthought. Ginga ended at a shorter than normal 21 episode run, which is just shy of the 26 that most anime ended at back then. The anime that took its time slots ended up being Saint Seiya, but despite its shorter than average run, it's very well paced and ends on an absolute high note. As of 2020, Ginga Nagareboshi Gin has no English release, but there are some English fan subs if you're really tenacious and you know where to look. But if you're growing tired of the typical shonen shows and you want something completely different, I recommend this series as a change of pace. It's odd to say something from over 30 years ago is a breath of fresh air, but if you want to see an anime about dogs fighting bears set to 1980s synth music, I don't think you're going to find it anywhere else. If you enjoyed this video and you want other people to see it, please leave a like. I hear that really helps with the search results.
you're zip tied to a tree, both your hands and your feet. All right, so what we're gonna do is, like my other videos, I'm gonna drive my elbows back towards the side of my rib cage.
What's he talking about, butthead? This is like a helpful video trying to teach people how to tie their shoes or something. Yeah, I should pay attention. Cause like, I tied my shoes like 3 years ago, and I just like put them on and take them off, you know, like already tied. Yeah. Yeah, I don't have time for that, you know. Oh, really? So do I. Oh, wow, really? We should hang out or something.
So we're gonna tie both shoelaces, okay, into a knot. See how I've done that?
No, I don't see. You know, whenever anyone explains anything to me, and they ask if I understand, I always say yes, but I never understand. Really? You've never understood anything? Nope. Never. Never have, never will. You know, people think I do because, like, when they're talking, you know, I just go, yeah, okay. Seems reasonable, yeah. But really, I'm just trying to make them stop talking, you know. And eventually, it always works. Yeah. And they have no idea that everything just went in one ear and out the other. You know, I think understanding things is like overrated, you know, because here I am. I'm doing just fine, you know. Out here killing it. Yeah.
Stay safe.
Alright, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video here on the channel, and today we have, unfortunately, another insane situation unfolding off of TikTok. Basically, these people never really seem to learn their lesson, man. Like, I don't know how many times we have to go through situations like this where, like, somebody comes out with some sort of, like, insane scam product on TikTok, and because, like, it has the color pink or something, people just lose their minds for it and believe it and fall for it and everything. But this situation is actually very reminiscent of a situation that happened earlier this year. I'm sure you guys probably remember, especially if you're a little bit more of a long-time viewer of the channel, but it was like the whole pink sauce thing. So essentially, a few months ago on TikTok, this woman came out with this sauce that you could buy called pink sauce, and like the ingredients were very questionable. The serving sizes were like angel numbers. It was basically this like mysterious pink sauce you could just buy, and they would like just mail it in normal mailing stuff, like just a little like USPS bag. It was like a complete disaster waiting to happen, like lawsuits waiting to happen kind of product, you know what I mean? It's like deadass one of those products that like you're gonna see a commercial for in like 10 years where it's like, did you eat the pink sauce off of TikTok? You may be entitled to financial compensation. But we have another one of those situations on our hands here, and this time it's just even more insane. Like, I kind of get the pink sauce, right? Like, I kind of get that one. You see a sauce, you really want to try it or whatever, you know, I kind of get why people bought that one, even though I still think it was completely fucking ridiculous and stupid for people to do. But this one, man, like the red flags are everywhere. Like there's so many red flags, you can't see past the red flags on this one. So there are literally people now who are buying BBL pills off of TikTok. Yes, I am dead fucking serious. There are people buying BBL pills, BBL vitamins on TikTok. It's mind-blowing to me, man. Like, we've had gas station boner pills to kind of warn you from doing shit like this for like 70 years or something crazy now, and people are still just buying this. And like, what's craziest about all of it, right, is people buy medicine that they don't even know the active ingredients in or anything off of random people on the internet in random packaging, and they think like, yeah, there's no problem with that. Hopefully there'll be no side effects from me taking this random pill. So let's go ahead and take a look at this miracle product. If you don't know what a BBL is, it's like a butt lift, basically, right? So like if you got like a, I guess, not attractive ass, they go in, they put some fucking, I don't know, horse fat, fucking God knows what cancer-causing chemicals, whatever it is, right? And they puff your butt up, right, to make it look better. Primarily done for women, but look, man, if you're a dude and you want to add some shitter to your hips, I don't really blame you, man. Doesn't really matter. That I digress, right? So that's basically what these pills are supposed to do. They're supposed to give you a better ass so you can be more attractive or whatever, right? You can kind of see what problem it solves. That's like a big thing for products. You see like what it's marketing towards. It's marketing towards insecure people who don't have the best view on their body, that want to make like, you know, a massive change. Maybe they don't want to go to the gym and do squats to get their ass or whatever. They just want to take a pill and cure that insecurity, right? It's a legitimate problem in society that people have, and this is what it's supposedly curing. However, this is not the way to fix that. This is not the way to cure that. If you want a better butt, man, just go do squats. That's what I've always heard my entire life. Don't be going and taking no BBL pills off of TikTok. So let's go ahead and examine this product, right? So this is one of their TikToks here, and there's like 90 things that are red flags about this immediately. Number one, no legitimate company name anywhere. All it says is the BBL effect. That is not a legitimate company name. There's a fucking peach emoji in the product name. That is a horrible idea to ever take anything with an emoji in the product name, especially if it's a medication. There's no legitimate prescription information on the front cover or label of anything. It doesn't appear to be FDA tested or approved by anything. It doesn't appear to have any scientific proof or results behind anything that it does. The prescription bottle's not orange or clear, it's pink. No ingredients are immediately available on this product label that we can see. And in the product recommendations, they added the 2 exclamation point emoji to the end of what part where it says, not intended to diagnose, treat, or prevent any disease. There is no legitimate information on this product. You can't really find anything online. Like they put a little weird like ingredient list on their TikTok. It's just literally a bunch of random shit that has no scientific proof that any of it works. It's just a red flag altogether, man. But the problem is, guess what? And this is the scariest part. People fucking ordered it anyway. Yeah, so they posted a TikTok where they're basically fulfilling a bunch of orders for these BBL effect pills, man. I don't get it. I don't get where these people come up with the confidence to ever buy shit like this online. I don't know, like, I'm just one of those people, like, I don't want to put just a bunch of random shit in my body, you know what I mean, to get a BBL. Maybe I'm the weirdo. Maybe I'm the fucking idiot for thinking that this is bad, but yeah, no one's worried about what's in these pills or anything. Like, anyone can get a pill maker and just combine a bunch of random shit into a pill-shaped little tablet, you know, or put some shit in a capsule, but people don't care. Like, people get on TikTok and they just buy the dumbest shit. Like, once again, we had the whole pink sauce incident. Now we got the fucking BBL pills. Like, I would never buy anything off TikTok. Like, no matter what, I get on TikTok to relax and have a good time. I'm not getting on TikTok to fucking shop for BBL pills and shit. Like, this is literally some gas station pill type beat behavior, you know what I mean? Like, you'd walk into the fucking corner store, into the Ock or whatever, right? The next thing you fucking know, they got the BBL pills up there on the counter, man. Ain't no way I would ever buy some shit like this in my life. All right, so as you can see, they're being shipped in like normal shipping bags, which, yeah, not good. I don't know how medicine normally works, but I would imagine that it needs to be climate controlled and it needs to be stored in an environment that's not just a plastic bag in the back of a fucking hot mail truck driving around all the time. I would imagine that probably doesn't have the best quality assurance, you know, effect on your product, but you know, what do I know? I have no idea about shipping anything through the mail except fucking thousands of merchandise orders or anything, right? But the scariest part about all this is people actually bought this shit, man. There's actually orders going out. People are legitimately getting on fucking TikTok, swiping through their For You page, seeing the BBL effect pills, and they're going online and actually buying this shit, man. So, and they're selling them in the weirdest way possible. Like, I went to these people's TikTok account and it says all natural weight gain supplement, only 5 left in stock. So they're selling this shit like it's like a Playboy Cardi narcissist merchandise line drop or something, like it's like a fucking exclusivity type of thing, which is really weird because like this is not how products like this are ever sold. So this is yet another red flag. Like, there should not be fucking like production quotas. If you're making shit like this and you're like shipping shit like this out of your, you know, office or whatever the fuck you guys are shipping out of, it looks like it's a bedroom from the video we took a look at earlier, right? The whole thing just screams bad idea. idea. Like, I can't believe that people are actually coming up with shit like this. You know, like, no, I want to rephrase that. I believe people are coming up with shit like this. I can't believe people are buying shit like this. Scams like this have been sold forever. You can find pills that are supposed to make your butt bigger, make you lose weight, or get a fucking, I don't know, anything, right? There's always been pills that solve some sort of problem. Like, it's a black magic kind of effect kind of thing, right? Where you